Thousands of years ago, a beautiful temple was built on an island, and it was adorned with 1,000 bells. When the wind blew, or a storm raged, the bells would chime in a sublime symphony. But over the centuries, the island sank into the sea, and along with it, the temple. All that was left of it was a legend.
This work is an installation called The Temple of 1,000 Bells. It was conceived for Liverpool Biennial International 10 exhibition 2 years ago. Someone told me about the legend of a temple of 1,000 bells that sank into the sea, and that its music could still be heard through water under the sea. I thought that it would be quite interesting to work through this fiction, creating a narration, working with a musician in Brazil that would create the music for it, and how that would transform the experience of the space where the work is installed.
It was said that the bells had not ceased ringing underwater, and that those who listened carefully could still hear them.
We basically worked from the text. I first showed him the text, the legend, and then I recorded it with a narrator and showed the narration, and he started working from that narration, trying to create some sounds that sometimes could work like as a sound effect for the narration, and sometimes could just be like a loose music with the idea of the bells, of the lost music. It was important. I told him that it would be important for me that the actual music of the bells is never revealed, because the legend says that there is a sailor that listens to this story, and he goes to the middle of the ocean at an attempt to listen to the lost music of the bells again.
A sailor was traveling around the world and heard this legend. Feeling inspired by it, he navigated toward the place where the island was said to exist, and there decided to anchor and to remain until he could hear the music of the bells.
But we decided not to reveal this music, because I thought it would be more interesting to leave it for the viewer, for the visitor, to imagine its own music.
We are on day 6 of the installation process here at St Mary's. We started off earlier in the week with a very huge scaffolding tower, and we were hanging the nylon fishing thread, 1,000 lines of that, each measuring about 6 metres, and that took about 4 days. Laura arrived just yesterday, and so now we've started the process of actually hanging the glass bells here. Prior to that, we had a huge kind of washing session, making sure each of the bells was kind of sparkly before we hung them, and just checking each one for any kind of signs of damage.
The bells, they don't have the clapper. I decided to do the bells without clapper when I created the work for Liverpool Biennial, because I thought that could match the concept of the story, the lost music of the bells. It gives the bells a visual aspect of water drops also that interested me, also matches the story.
First originally read about it when it had been installed at Liverpool, at the oratory there as part of the Liverpool 10. And I immediately started to think that this could be a really great work for St Mary's, because obviously there it had been a site-specific work for a chapel, but it also had that kind of resonance in that it was glass, and we have a lot of kind of stained glass here in the church, and also the kind of symbolism of the bells I thought was really interesting, because of course St Mary's is a deconsecrated church, but when it was still active, bells that rung here would have kind of called people to the church and for celebration or to prayer, but obviously since the church was deconsecrated, the bells have been silent. So I like that kind of link as well, that Laura's used these bells that don't have a clapper, that are silent.
The experience of the surrounding sound. It's interesting that people walk like in the middle of the space between the speakers, so they will notice that sound is traveling from one speaker to another. So we are now done with the hanging of the bells. It's been complete this morning, and we're gonna have to look at the sound system in the afternoon. And I'm quite happy with what we have here because of the interaction with the space and natural sunlight coming into the bells and passing through the glass, and the interaction with the architecture also, the whole environment. I think it's a nice place for this installation.
It's great that Laura's happy with the piece as well, because obviously she flew directly from Brazil to York without having seen the space. So, you know, she's just been here for 5 days, and we've worked together installing the piece and making sure that she's satisfied with it here. So, yeah, really thrilled that it's looking really great, and I'm sure visitors will really enjoy it.
Listening to the mysterious legend again, he felt his heart inflamed by its words. Full of hope, he returned to the middle of the ocean and with all of his might attempted to block out the sound of the sea. But its noise was overwhelming and seemed to flood his mind. He thus decided to give up his quest and to continue his journey around the world. With a deep breath, the sailor finally surrendered to the sounds of the ocean, and for the first time he listened effortlessly. A profound silence infused his entire being, and in it he became more and more absorbed.